Hi, my name is Guidry, and today we're going to talk about how to book more of your ideal client. Before we dive into the content, if you need help pricing your photography, be sure to visit the link below where you can get my free guide. All right, so what is an ideal client? The first thing that we're going to do in order to book more of your ideal client is to actually figure out who your ideal client is. So for example, maybe your ideal client is based on budget. You know, it might be someone that you like what they can spend on their event and you want to photograph big, beautiful, expensive weddings. But that's not always the case. Someone's ideal client could also be someone who has a wonderful personality. Maybe it's someone who's into the outdoors or loves the city. Everyone's values are different. And so defining your ideal client is huge. Actually take some time to write down what makes up your ideal client. Is it location? Is your ideal client based in your city because you don't want to travel? Or is it someone who's organized? Or maybe it's all of the above. Taking the time to sit down and write down and actually define your ideal client will allow you to hone in on who you're looking for. And it's really not until you know what that person is that you can actually find them. It's kind of like dating. When you are dating, right, you're thinking about the type of person that you want to be with. What's your dream spouse, your dream significant other? And you sort of have a mental list, and maybe not everyone's perfect. Maybe your clients aren't all perfect. But I do think that it's good to have an idea of the type of person that you want to work with moving forward so that you know exactly the strategy that you need to have in place to get that person booking you for your photography. Okay, so once you actually have that ideal client in mind, what to do next? Well, you want to show the type of work that that person's drawn to in order to bring them in. If you want a client that's high fashion, high design, when you're putting out content on your social media or on your website, you want to put the type of fashion that that person would be into. If you love the idea of shooting in the mountains, photograph and then put up images taken in the mountains. I love photographing weddings in New Orleans. That's where we are. So if you see my work on social media or on my website, a lot of it is based in the city. I love the New Orleans second line. I love the culture and the festivities. And that's why I'm putting out a lot of that type of work. Be very strategic in the imagery and the work that you're putting out on social. Funny story, I had a client, another photographer that I was mentoring years ago. And she came to me for a mentoring session and she said, Catherine, I don't understand why I keep getting wedding inquiries. I really want to shoot families. And when I went to her social media, I realized that she had a ton of wedding work on her social platforms. And so what was happening was that people were seeing her posting social media images of weddings and therefore hiring her for that type of work, even though that it wasn't her ideal client. And that's a perfect example. You get what you put out. Like attracts like. So whether it's the type of work or the type of client or the location of the event, you really have to think about every single thing that you put out and every single thing that people see. When I first started photographing weddings, I used to post every single thing that I photographed, every single event, every single session. And now I don't do that. So for example, I actually photograph a few family sessions a year. Not a ton, but for family, close friends, sometimes past clients, it just depends on what the year is looking like and how busy we are in that season. However, it's not my ideal work. I really love photographing weddings. And so if you go to my social platforms, you're not going to see any of that, even though it's something that I do throughout the year. So that's a perfect example of why you want to be super conscious about what you're putting out on social and on your portfolio. I've even had people that have mentored photographers in the past say, well, Kat, I want to do more commercial work, but I'm getting a lot of family inquiries right now. What should I do about my website? My personal opinion on that is that you continue to put out more and more commercial work. And I would even omit or put in a separate section of your website the family images so that when people come to your site, they're like, oh, she's a commercial photographer, and that you will then start to get more commercial work. So again, really honing in to your ideal client, who they are, what it is that's important to you, and really sharing that type of work. All right, now let's talk about the next part of getting your ideal client. In addition to a client liking your work, a lot of times they book based on who you are and your personality or your interests. So going back to someone who loves to photograph in the mountains per se, if you love being outdoors and want to connect with other people who love the same thing, then post that about yourself. People will see, oh wow, this photographer really loves being in the mountains. They really love being outdoors, and we want someone who gets that. We want to be in our wedding day attire and our photographer be willing to hike up the mountain with them. I am probably not that photographer, for example. I am a city girl. I love the city. You will see a ton of images on my social of me in the city. I'm married to an architect, and so that is what I love, and that's what you'll see me share. I want to connect with other people who love that same thing. So if there is something that you have interest in and that you want to connect with someone else over, make sure that you're sharing that about yourself. I know this is our businesses and that we're mostly sharing photos of other people, but it's okay every now and then to share a little bit about yourself because it will give your clients, your ideal clients, the ability to connect with you. And lastly, when you finally have that opportunity and that ideal client walks through the door and you book them, you make sure that you do an absolutely stellar job because that client will then go and tell their friends and their family. And probably the likelihood is that if they are your ideal client, that their friends and family may be too. And so the better the experience and imagery that you can provide for them, the more confidence that they'll have in sharing with other people. If you are finally able to get that ideal client in the door, you want to make sure that you do a good job so you can get more clients just like them. I hope this video was helpful for you. If you have any questions, be sure to pop them into the comments below. Don't forget to subscribe if you found this helpful. And I really, truly hope that you're able to hone in on your ideal client, produce the work that brings them in, show that you're the person for them, and then when you book them, do a good job so that you get more clients just like that in the future. Thank you so much for watching.